would say, girl, you need to keep going. Don't stop. It's going to be hard sometimes, but the fact that you are confident in your passion, hold on to that, because to be a creative, just to be a human in this human experience we're having, to have a passion, to use that to your biggest potential will be the greatest gift to yourself.
Hey, this is Meloriota Lucy, and you're listening to the Rough Concept Podcast. Thank you again for, doing this with me. And it's really just to kind of make space for us. I want people to hear from you. I want the listeners to feel empowered to take on their own creative process and know that it doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to be perfect. And even every time, for us, it's different. So just navigating this journey can seem a little haunting, but it's really what you want it to be for yourself and what works best for you. And I had to bring my girls on so we can have a conversation.
Yes, we gotta talk about this.
Exactly. So, just to give the listeners an idea of who you are and what kind of work you do, just introduce yourself and give us a brief overview of your artistic background and journey.
Well, officially, my name is Cortney Herron, and I'm a painter. I would consider myself a figurative artist, so I'm typically painting the female form, just body parts, lots of faces. You'll probably seen portraits that I've done. My art has definitely changed and evolved over time, which I'm happy it has, simply because I'm really happy with my art right now. I grew up doing art my entire life. I was voted most artistic in high school, that whole thing. I knew I didn't want to go to art school right after high school, so I ended up studying graphic design in college. I'm glad I did. I felt like it would perhaps solve this need to keep my creativity and maintain it, as I got older. But it wasn't until 2018 that I really leaned back into painting and the actual traditional art in the traditional sense. So I kind of realized how much I didn't love graphic design too much just to continue it as a career path. And I was like, wait a second, what's missing in my life right now? Why did I stop doing art? It was genuinely the thing that just fueled me every single day growing up. So I'm like, why did I stop this? Why did I ever stop?
Right.
So 2018 is when I really kind of said okay, I'm going to start doing this a little bit more seriously, and putting myself out there, putting my art out there. And let's see, end of 2022 is when I went full time with my art. So as of now, full time artist. It's scary, but I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. It's been amazing. So highly recommend it. For
Highly
anyone who's on the
recommend
fence.
it.
Totally.
Ebbs and flows, but definitely do it. Yeah,
Yes.
I love that. I love your
Yeah.
work. What I love most about your work is the texture and the body form. I'm fascinated by that too.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've been working to perfect it, in my own way, right? To make
Totally.
it more of muscle memory
Yep.
rather than
Exactly.
referencing. And I feel
Exactly.
like you got that in a bag, and I can recognize your work anywhere.
Thank you.
It's just so beautifully done, and I love your neutral colors and
Yeah.
then your pops of colors. You just got a style that is easily identifiable, and I
Well,
dig
thank you.
that.
That means a lot, because I feel like that has been one of the biggest struggles that I've had. Just my identity as an artist, trying to figure out what my style is, what my what feels most natural and comfortable to me when I'm creating. So, like I said before, I feel like I'm at a place more recently where I'm just happy with my art. I'm happy with the work that I'm creating, that I'm putting out. I'm confident in it. I can look
Yeah,
back on, pieces and say oh, I love this, versus
yeah,
stuff that I created years ago. That's oh gosh, what was I thinking? So,
yeah.
so it's good to hear that reassurance that people can identify it and, identify with it. So yeah, that's really great to hear. So thank you for that.
Right. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that you're on that journey too, because like I feel like as artists we're ever evolving, and we changing over time. We have different stories that we want to tell, or different experiences, and um just to hear that you're navigating that too. Like over time, I was like trying to figure this thing out. Like, what story do I want to tell? Like, how do I want to
Yeah.
navigate this? Or how do I want to navigate the creative process? And I feel like we're always learning. But if we can stand confidently in what we create, that's true to
Hmm.
us. That
Hmm.
is like bottom line, like the
Yeah.
foundation to this whole journey, right?
Yep. Yep.
But to get into the creative process, what does your typical creative process look like from like start to finish? And you don't have to give us too much detail. I understand like we like this process is so sacred to us.
Hmm.
And it's a part of our, just our, our makeup, right? And some
Absolutely.
parts are more important than others. And some
Yeah.
parts I'm like, this is my thing. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear about your journey. I would love for my listeners to hear about it too. So.
Absolutely. So I feel like I'm such like a daydreamer. I have so much going on in my head. I'm a visualizer. There's so many things that just kind of swirl in my head, like just images, memories, things that kind of are just locked in there. So
Mhm.
a lot of the inspiration for my work comes from just what's happening in my head, how I'm feeling, just images that I've seen, something I'll see on TV or something I'll be scrolling on Instagram, and just I'll
Right.
see like a body part or like a pose or something that'll just kind of sit in my head for a little bit. And I know I want to do something with it.
Right.
So I'm usually at that phase. I go from there straight to canvas. So I rarely draw. Like I'm rarely
Yeah.
actually outlining a figure like on the canvas before I paint. It's really just I jump right in.
So
And
cool.
it's been interesting just to kind of embrace that, because for so long I felt like I had to do things in a certain order. Like everything had to be perfect about the process. So
Mhm.
I had to sketch it, I had to make sure it was perfect and then paint it because you don't want to mess up. But
Mhm.
I've kind of given myself that breathing room to really just jump right in and let the process be somewhat spontaneous. So,
Mhm.
although I do have ideas in my head of, the kind of imagery or the poses I want to create, there's so much unknown on the other side once
Right.
you start. There's just so much just like, oh, where's this going to go? And I love that part of it. Like that's the
Right.
part that's like, oh my God, what is this going to be? Who is this person going to, who's this painting going to become? Who is this
Yeah.
for? So it's interesting. And I feel like I needed to just embrace that part of it and be okay with just jumping right in, like having a general
Mhm.
concept and then just going for it. So
Right.
that's been my thing lately. That's where I'm at right now. So
I love that. Just letting it be what it is.
yeah,
Even recently, even like creating this podcast or creating a piece of work, I've been so hard on myself in
yeah,
terms of like it needs to be like this in this order.
yeah,
And although I know like this can go however way I want it to go, and I feel like as artists, that's the sauce that we don't realize we have.
yeah,
And across the board, from like social media, website, even
yeah,
how we're having this conversation now, it can be however we want it to be, whatever is up
absolutely.
here. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And to put yourself, like, confine yourself in that really cripples your creativity.
totally.
And it's really tough too when you have a vision, like you said, like daydreaming, you want to use this vision.
Mhm.
I have the habit of like sharing what I'm gonna do next
Mhm.
with like creative friends or
Yeah,
my husband, poor husband, because he is like, I don't know what
take
you're
on so
doing.
much. I know.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, babe.
Right.
But and one day I told him, I said, sometimes I feel so misunderstood, and that's me putting myself in this
Yeah,
box or having these expectations for myself. My husband was like, you know what? Only you can see your vision. He said, so when people don't understand it, like show us what you're talking about. And I was
yeah,
like, right, you're right.
yeah.
So with the
Wow.
podcast, with it being so new, I have been navigating that and trying to figure out how to go about it. And what I've learned through this entire process, it's been a total soul search, by the way.
It's
This
funny
whole
how that
situation,
happens,
the
right?
mic, the
Totally. Yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
it was a total soul search because I had this idea of what it would look like, and it so didn't. But what I
yeah,
realized too, and even talking about the creative process, is it can go however you want it to go,
yeah,
whatever your process looks like. And I
yeah,
adore how you said, I go from a vision in my mind or a pose and I go straight to canvas. I don't even sketch it. I said, oh, The freedom, my Lord. I'd be like,
It's
you need to sketch it. You need to,
it's
you know.
liberating.
Yeah.
It's truly liberating. And I didn't realize that about myself. I didn't realize I needed that. I didn't
Hmm.
realize I needed to give myself permission to do that. And I
Right.
could. Like, I don't know who was keeping me, like, nobody had a gun to my head, said you have to do it this way. It was just
Yeah.
me. Like, I'm the problem. It was me, you know? So it's like you realize
Really.
so much about yourself through your process. And
Yeah.
even like you said, like explaining to others and, kind of, I feel like I've tried to kind of hold on to myself and my process and my ideas a little bit longer before I
Hmm.
share, simply
Hmm.
because there's so much unknown that like I
Right.
don't know yet. Like I may have one idea today, but it could be completely different tomorrow. You know, it's wild.
Yeah.
The roller coasters you go through.
Yeah. And giving yourself to that space to change your mind. Like
Yeah,
how this started is not how it's going to finish.
totally.
And I feel like I hold myself to this like expectation, like you made a decision, we got to follow
Hmm.
through with that
Yeah,
decision. It's just like,
yeah.
no, like it can be a song. I can sing on this podcast if I wanted
Right.
to,
If you
you
wanted
know?
to, absolutely.
But I love your freedom in that. And okay, the next question I have, I'm gonna go off of what we talked about real quick because I feel like whenever you said I learned so much about myself, explain to me what that looks like for you for the creative process to be somewhat of a self-discovery
Yeah,
or learning new things about yourself as a woman and as an artist.
totally. You know, it's art is such a sacred space for me. Um, just even the process creating, like just being in the thick of it, it's it's allowed me to genuinely build the confidence I have in myself because I'm so aligned with what I want to do, what I want to be doing. I don't necessarily know what the future holds, but I know that I'm happy here,
Hmm.
however it may develop. And it's giving yourself the permission, the breathing room to just be
Yeah.
and really just say like, hey, this is me. This is who I am. This is who I am right now.
Right.
This is what I look like right now. This is what my work looks like right now. This is the mantras that I hold right now. There's so much freedom that I didn't realize I needed as a creative that I had to give myself permission
Hmm.
to be.
Right.
And with that comes confidence, not caring what other people think, not being scared to put my art out there. Like 2018, when I first started, I was terrified to put my art out there. I was
Right.
scared of judgment. I was scared of just, oh, what if this is bad? What if this isn't good enough for the art world? Whatever that means. There's so many what ifs that were holding me back.
Hmm.
And once you start getting aligned with the kind of person you want to be, it becomes everything just kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
It's the I don't even know how to describe it sometimes. It's
It
just
kind
like
of
a
just
feeling.
flows into place. It
Yeah,
like everything just kind of flows together. Like
it does. It's
it all
truly
works
beautiful
together.
too. It's like, dang,
Yeah.
that's really cool. It's good to feel that way, and it's like
Right.
I like to hold on to those moments of like just allowing myself to be me and
Right.
realizing what you magnetize when you allow yourself that. So,
Yeah. I think that's the biggest gift we can give ourselves too, right?
absolutely.
And once we do that, everything that is for us and all the things, it'll just fall into place.
It will. Absolutely.
So I love the answer. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Well, we already nitty gritty in. So um I wanted to ask, out of all the stages involved in your creative process, which one is your favorite and why?
Ooh, so for me, it's really that first moment of going from idea straight to canvas.
Mhm.
It's this magic moment that I don't really know how to describe what it actually feels like, but it's just like the excitement, the anticipation of taking an idea, a vision, and putting it right on the paper and just kind of
Right.
seeing what that first, especially since I'm not really sketching like that, seeing what that first I guess, rough pass looks like.
Mhm.
And it kind of just determines the, the roadmap to a finished piece. So it's really just kind of like, like that first dab on the canvas. It's just like a magical moment for me that I truly love. um and it's just exciting, especially with like a blank canvas, and just like gosh, this is a new pathway of discovery for something. Even if it's just a small painting, it's just something new that you're putting yourself into, that you can kind of morph and shape and develop
Mhm.
as you want. So
Right.
that's the part that I love. It's like seeing what's about to happen and making
Right.
that first impression.
Does it feel good too whenever you said put the paint to canvas? It's like you're following through with something you saw in your head. Like it
Yeah.
seems simple, but I feel like as artists, like for us to follow through with a vision or an
Oh my
idea,
gosh.
it's such a
Yes.
big deal.
It's a
It's kind
huge
of
deal.
like one of my friends a long time ago, she said, start at start. And I was like, you know what, you're right. But
Love that. Yeah.
just taking that step into the unknown, like not
Yeah.
knowing, like having this idea and
Yeah.
knowing that it could unfold into something totally different, but the courage to start
Yeah.
is the
The,
big part of that,
I think the
right?
follow through is the key,
Yeah.
because there's so many times in the past where I had so many ideas, and I was just probably scared to start. I was
Mhm.
scared to see what could happen.
Right.
But there's so much good that happens when you start anything. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's even the learning, I'm learning that about myself too. Just even this podcast, like just starting, saying yes to things. Like it's an interesting moment that you have when you allow yourself to just do it, because you realize,
Yeah.
like, what was I so scared of? Like, what? I don't know why I was tripping. Like, what,
Right.
so
Like, why was I tripping about that? And I feel like I do that a lot. Like, I'll start something and I'm like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, even
yeah.
before I called you, I started to panic. I said, it is not that deep,
We have to
Mel.
give ourselves these like pep talks, like
Yeah.
just talk ourselves out of our own way, because
Yeah.
we already know the answer. We know it's gonna
Yeah.
be fine. That's
I
weird.
was trying
Yeah.
to catch myself before it starts. I'm like, all right, it's happening, girl.
Yeah.
All right, we
Yeah.
getting nervous. Your heart beating, your armpits are
Those
sweating now.
those pep
Like,
talks are key. They're really
yeah,
key. I didn't realize how much
yeah.
I talked to myself either. Like it's like, it's
And
like,
you know, people don't have a monologue. Do you have a monologue?
oh, absolutely.
I don't see how people navigate this earth without a freaking monologue.
I talk to
Like,
myself like it's constantly, like constantly talking. Like,
that's how I
you know,
survive through the
I don't know
day.
how else
Like,
anyone else does it, because it's the only way I know how to get through.
exactly. My husband is a total opposite. So I can talk to myself in my head all day.
Mhm.
But my
Yeah.
husband, he was like, no, I just kind of, no, I don't talk to myself. I was like, what?
Yeah.
How do you even navigate life?
Yeah.
But you know what? Opposites attract, whatever. We'll
It's
just
true.
take it
This
for
is
what it
true.
is.
Oh yeah.
But thank you for sharing that with me. I will ask another question and just know too, like off the cuff. Um, these will be like clips in the
Okay.
episode. So
Got
it
it. Okay.
starts, I should have told you this before, but you are doing fantastic. Okay. You
You
are
make it very easy.
nailing
Talking to
it.
you has just been like,
I'm
it's
so
so
glad.
easy. We could probably talk for hours, I'm sure,
I
but
know. I was like, I hope she cool with 45 minutes plus because
right.
we are chopping it up right now. But I'm with the episodes, this is the layout. So I start with the story. So I'll like
Yeah.
share a part of my story and how that influenced a body of work that I,
Love it.
drawn. And then from there I'll talk about the creative process stage. It could
Mhm.
be rough sketch, refined, whatever. And then I'll go into the new collection that I'm sketching. So
Mm.
at the end of the season, I'll have a body of work to share, like that I had been sharing throughout the
Oh my
podcast.
gosh.
So I was like, oh
This
my
makes
God, this is
this
gonna be
makes this whole thing even more epic. How cool. That's
it's
really exciting.
I'm
Not to put
so
pressure,
glad
but
you
that's
like
awesome. Yeah.
it. So after I have that conversation, and everything to me creatively parallels with like self-discovery and just like growth.
Yeah.
So it'll always be some
Yeah.
kind of sappy gem from Mel. That's
I
just how
love
it
that
is.
though.
And then I'll go into your clip. And before I
Okay.
go into your clip, I'll introduce you and let my listeners know why I love you so much and love your work. And then it'll go into a clip of our conversation.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then after that, I'll leave them with like a creative prompt to engage and things like that. So
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
it's
I'm
a
so
whole
excited for
thing.
this. It is.
It's a whole situation. And you can imagine, well, I've been over
Yeah,
here
I get it. I
tripping.
get it.
Um, but if it's okay with you, I would love for, I have been thinking and it's been on my heart. I was like, everyone that I'm going to have a conversation with, I know very well in a
Mhm.
way. And I feel like these are going to be such fruitful conversations that I should extend it. And while I would love to have an hour plus podcast, as a listener of podcasts, I do not like to sit and listen. Like we're
So
not
yeah,
commuting anymore. We're not
right,
driving to work, so we don't have,
right,
hours to listen to things.
right.
That this may be like a second, like an extended full like
Okay,
conversation. Cool.
okay. Absolutely.
And are
Anything.
you look, you like, girl,
Yes,
do whatever. But I just want to
yes,
make sure y'all know. So you be like, girl, you didn't tell me
absolutely.
that part.
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. And then I think it'd be really fun if we had like clips of us conversing
Yeah.
this way too. So
Yes,
that's why
absolutely.
Riverside, I was like, Riverside, take my money.
Yes.
But
Anything you need, anything you want to do, like whatever. Just
okay,
you have
perfect.
my
I'm gonna
green light
still
on
tell you
everything.
ahead of
Okay,
time. But
yeah.
okay, perfect. So let's get into I feel like we already covered this, but if you want to continue, like we can definitely touch it. So how do you think this aspect of your process shapes your overall perspective on creativity and your
Mhm.
approach to your work? Oh no, that's good. That's a good
Yeah,
question, girl. I'm sorry.
it is. No, it's. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. When I saw it, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's a really good one. You know, it's it's the self-discovery thing. And you know what it is? I think it's allowing yourself to rediscover yourself every single day.
Right.
And I have changed just my art, just in general, like everything about me is different. And I like that because I'm learning about myself. I'm learning who I want to be, the type of person I want to be, the types of things, opportunities, people I want to attract
Hmm.
through my art. Like
Right.
my art has been like my savior in a sense. It has
Mm-hmm.
like saved me, like the true me inside that I felt like I was trying to suppress for so long. And
Right.
it's like just given me this opportunity to shine. It's like the conduit to my unlimited creativity.
Right.
And I didn't know I needed that, but I feel like I was so hung up on doing things a certain way in a certain order, having things done by a certain time, by a certain age. Like I feel like there were so many things that I was worried about that no longer aren't even on my radar anymore. Like I'm
Right.
just allowing myself to be, to age, to grow, to learn. And at the same time, I'm creating artwork that is aligned with all of that.
Right.
So like I'm it's like my own growth is like on the canvas. Like this is a extension of me
Right.
that I I have to keep practicing at every day because that's how I'm growing. That's how I'm getting better. That's how I'm loving myself more. That's how I'm loving my art more. That's how I'm attracting the types of people, connections that just are in alignment with, it's like people speaking your language. It's like when you put
Yeah.
yourself out there and you're so aligned, it's like, oh, I can do it this way. Like the process that I'm doing it, it may not be the way you're doing it, may not be the way someone else is doing it, but I'm cool with the way I'm doing it.
Right.
It's allowed me to just be me and to stay aligned throughout the whole process because who knows what's to come? Like who knows, you know?
Right.
But as long as I'm continuing to learn, stay aligned, it's my process has just given me the permission to stay true to myself, and it's something that I hold so dear to my heart. And I know you get that just because it's like
Yeah.
it's so sacred, like how we
Hmm.
operate, how we do things. So it's man, it's an emotional journey. Just
Yeah.
it's it's truly fascinating. Like what
Yeah.
creatives like think. I don't know. So I'm sure you get it, but
Yeah. I hear self acceptance,
yeah.
making space for yourself, especially like to grow and to change and giving yourself permission to do things the way you want to do it for yourself and
Yeah.
not caring about what other
Yeah.
people think about it as long as you're good with it. That's what I
Yeah.
hear. And I
Yes.
love that. I mean, I feel like as everything unfolds and while we're having this conversation, I'm learning how important it was for me to follow through with this, as hard
Mhm.
as it was, right? As difficult as it was and scary, because I think so many of us need to hear this
Yeah.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
And that at the end of the day, even too when artists are compared, you can't compare an artist to another artist.
Yeah.
We all are creating from like the core of us, our own
Totally.
DNA, our own like experiences, technique, texture,
Yeah.
how we go about our
Yeah.
creative process, everything is so different. So to compare two artists, that's not even I'm not even having those conversations anymore with myself either. Like, you know what
So
I'm saying?
it's so
It's
true. It's so true. I'm happy you said that because I in the past it was so, especially just with like social media and stuff, it's so easy to just scroll and compare yourself to what other people have going on.
yeah.
But once you get so aligned with who you are and your process and what you're doing, like I can scroll and see something that you posted or someone else posted, and it just like the immediate response is joy, happiness. Oh my
Yes.
God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's less and less coming from a place of comparison, and it feels so good.
Ah,
Like
there's like so much freedom in that space too.
there's so much more.
Like now, and like you said, when you see someone else's work, like before, whenever I started this journey, and I was super like self conscious about my work and was afraid to share it, and I would compare myself to other artists, and now I'm just like, I'm so happy for her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you see
Totally.
someone's technique change and
Yeah.
style, you see other people on their journeys.
Yeah.
Now it's like more so empowers me to take on what it is that I want to do.
Totally.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely. It's empowering. It's
yeah,
like,
so
I love
empowering.
seeing you shine. Thank you for sharing this. Like, this is
Yeah,
just, it keeps the momentum going that we need creatively, just to
yeah,
see the joy that other people experience in their own process, and
right,
let it live as its own thing and not internalize it because it has
right.
nothing to do with you. Like, your journey is so different. You're all over here, like doing your own thing, which
Yeah,
is just as great, you know?
yeah.
So it's wild.
And we know the vulnerability that comes with that. We know the courage that comes with like changing up something and wanting to present it to the world.
Hmm.
So there's this joy that I feel for that person.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, like, and that's another thing, like, comparison is really the thief of joy.
Absolutely.
Because when you think about it, we're all like in our heads at some point of our process or, going through our, self growth or all of that, discovering new things about ourselves and making space for ourselves and things. And we know how it feels to change things up and
Yeah.
present it to the world.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know if you follow Maggie Stevenson.
Oh, yeah,
She
I've heard of
went
her.
through a
Mhm.
season where she was just changing it up. And I
Yeah.
messaged her, I said, Maggie, I said, girl, I am feeling the transition in your life right now. Create like
Yeah.
I just felt
Yeah.
it. And I was
Yeah.
like, please never stop. I said, I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you. I'm so excited. And she was like, it feels so good that you reached out to me and told me that
Yeah.
because I am freaking out over
Right.
here.
Because we know how much courage it takes. It's
Yeah.
a lot of courage to change, just to put yourself out there differently.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's
Yeah.
really scary.
Especially
Wow,
with social
definitely.
media,
Yeah.
like you have this style for so long that people love and gravitate towards, and
Yeah.
then for you to change it up, then people fall off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how do you navigate that in terms of like what it is that you want to do, knowing that
Hmm.
you have this community of people that have this expectation, right? And they don't mean it in a
Right.
when you have something consistently and then it changes
Yeah.
like, oh, something changed. So
Right.
what's this about? And sometimes people like receive it in different ways. Like, how do
Yeah.
you navigate staying true to yourself and what it is that you want to how you want to change and evolve, because we'll never stay the same. Our work will
We
never stay the same because
It
we
never
will
will.
never stay the same, right?
Exactly,
So how
exactly.
do you navigate that in terms of like your art and your creativity?
It's really just being honest about it
Yeah.
and not being afraid to say like, yeah, I'm changing. I'm different. This is different. This is a new style that I'm really excited about, and I'm happy to share it because this is my truth. So I
Hmm.
think just being brutally honest sometimes, like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is totally different, but this is what I wanted to do, and
Right.
not necessarily caring about, the fall off or whatever, pushback even. It's more so just saying this is what it is. Like, I'm human, I'm gonna change, and this is part of my journey, So I think really just like owning it,
Sorry. I
say.
totally agree. Just removing that pressure, I feel like,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
letting us be our full selves. I think
Yeah.
that's the major part. I love this. I love this for
I love it too.
us. Tell me what, like, if you were to have a conversation with someone who's just starting their journey, right?
Mhm.
Who was, okay, if you could talk to Courtney whenever
Mm,
she started sharing her work on, went from graphic design and say, you know what, I like to paint and I'm
mhm,
going to start painting. I'm going to start sharing. And that, that fear or that hesitation or any emotional um, highs and lows or roller
mhm.
coaster rather, right? That you were going through, what would you say to her now that could help, even the listener here, like navigate this journey in
Yeah.
authenticity and like freedom?
I would say, girl, you need to keep going.
Yeah.
Don't stop. It's going to be hard sometimes, but the fact that you are confident in your passion, hold on to that,
Hmm.
because to be a creative, just to be a human in this human experience we're having, to have a passion and to use that to your biggest potential will be the greatest gift to yourself,
Right.
because there is no feeling like having a passion for something, no matter what
Right.
it is,
Right.
and to never let that go, because I let it go for a little while and I felt lost. So
Hmm.
I would say there will be highs and lows, but keep that passion alive. Don't
Right.
shy away from what you're truly passionate about.
Right.
There's a reason you're passionate for it. There's a reason why you felt lack, when you weren't creating the way you should have been.
Right.
So just I would just say hold on to it. Like, never shy away from your passion,
Right.
because it speaks to us in ways that, you get signs from the universe all the time about, we're in the right place at the right time, doing what we need to be doing. I feel like there's so much in that.
Right.
So I would say just keep going, like, and stop ignoring your passion, because it's there for a reason.
Right. I feel like when we suppress, what my therapist told me recently, well, when I first, hold on.
Are we outing ourselves?
No, the UPS truck was happening. I was like, I'm gonna
Oh,
let you pass. Oh boy.
do your thing,
Um,
yeah.
First of all, whenever he was like, girl, I was like, oh yeah, she about to come with the sauce. When you start something with like, girl, listen. But I felt that
Get it together,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, like my therapist was saying, when I first started meeting with her, and I deal well, I'm working through like anxiety and learning how to manage it. And she said one indicator of like anxiety is you being not being aligned with your true self.
Mm,
Like you being outside or choosing the things or saying the things or committing to the things that don't really align with what who you are and what you really want to do. And
mhm.
I was like 100%. So whenever
Yeah,
you mentioned like follow through with this passion, because if you don't, like you're pretty much kind of giving up on
yeah,
like the things that you want to do and like yourself in a way,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I 100% relate to that because when after I graduated from college, I was like so crushed. We had to get into corporate America and I was like, I just want to draw. I just want to draw people.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for much. But just to feel how out of alignment I was then and how
Yeah.
highly stressed I was, and even
Yeah.
to like throughout my journey and where I am now, like just accepting and myself, making grace. I mean, having grace for myself, making space for the things that I want, and being truly
Yeah.
honest with yourself. You
Yeah.
really got to get honest with you. At when it boils down to it, you have to be honest about what it is that you want and want for your life, want creatively with yourself,
Yes.
even in terms of the work that we create and who we work with. So,
Yes.
how has
Yes.
that worked with you? Like, and I'll note,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's your earrings, because I know when you
Oh,
was rolling your neck and you
really?
was getting into it, it was clicking it a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, it is.
We got into the bits.
Yeah, girl. It was like, da-da-da, da. I was like, yeah, girl, them earrings, them hopes moving. Okay. But how do you I'm sorry, I just like threw myself off because I was like, yeah, girl, you was into it. But how um how do you navigate that with like the people you work with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it's listening to your intuition
Hmm.
first, because there's like always like an initial email or something, some sort of presentation of like, some type of partnership, whatever, collaboration. And it's really paying attention to your intuition first and seeing how those interactions make you feel. Because I
Hmm.
feel like it's so easy to either say yes right away or say no right away.
Hmm.
Both of which I'm 100% for. But I feel like it's about listening to your intuition and seeing how you feel after those things, and because I feel like that's how we manage our bandwidth, how we manage like what we have, creatively to put out there. Like if I'm in the middle of working on some massive pieces and someone, asks me like, oh, like, you know, would you mind creating this, or, some other type of project that's kind of not in line with what I'm working on now, it can throw me
Hmm.
off. And I have to realize, okay, do I have the bandwidth for this? Do I have the creative
Right.
bandwidth for this?
Right.
Am I able to pour just as much of myself into this project that I'm super passionate about to this new project? So it's really just making sure that you have the bandwidth for the future, because there's been times, even just making plans, you make plans when you're in a good mood, and then the plans come, you're like, oh, I don't know if I feel like it, so it's like,
Right.
it's really just managing your bandwidth and really being mindful of how you feel after. Like when I got your email about like, oh, would you, be on this podcast, it was a no-brainer for me. I was like,
Mhm.
yes, whatever you need, I got you.
I'm so glad
But
I'm a
there's some
no-brainer inquiry.
but everybody's not, and it's
Right.
it's you sometimes you see things like, oh, this is going to be cumbersome, this is going to be overwhelming. I know I
Right.
just don't have it in me. So I think it's just really not saying yes or saying no. Like I don't think it's like, oh, hard no, like I don't have time, but just really being mindful of how you feel after those initial interactions, because I feel like creativity and just bandwidth is something that's just such a roller coaster.
Hmm.
Tomorrow I may not have any creativity left in me at all, but I may have committed to something and regret it and not put out my best work. So it's really
Right.
just really being mindful and staying true to how you're feeling.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, because it definitely shows in your work whenever, you know,
Yes.
whatever that looks like.
Yeah, totally, exactly. Exactly.
I
Yes.
saw your artist statement on your website
Hmm.
and how nature inspires your work. I would love for you to share more about that, as I'm a sunset lover.
Oh my
Sunrise,
gosh.
sunset. I just think it's grounding and
Yes.
um just beauty in nature and how it actually like serves and helps us as human beings. That's a whole nother conversation in
Oh my
itself,
gosh.
but I would love to hear about
It's
that.
yes, it's something that I discovered actually just through my process. It's something that I discovered, like how much nature, the outdoors, just plays a role in the art that I create, from the colors to the texture. There's so much I didn't realize that I love and appreciate about nature. So I
Yeah.
grew up in, and I still live in Los Angeles. So I'm a baby when it comes to like any cold weather. Like it's not my thing. Like I need to be in the sun. I need to feel warm and cozy. Like that's just me. And I didn't realize how
Mhm.
much of me that was and how much I needed that in my art.
Right.
So it's really just this love. You know, I was always outdoors. Like I was a Girl Scout, like just hiking, like camping, like all that was me. Like that was my whole childhood.
Mhm.
So, there's a siren. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's
No,
a
I can
siren going
hear
by.
it.
Oh, okay,
See,
good.
see, I like this little platform.
I
This
know.
is working for us.
Perfect. But yeah, so it's something that I didn't realize was so intertwined in my art, and I didn't realize like, oh, like gosh, like no wonder I love using greens and these earthy
I
tones,
was just
and
about to ask you about your
it's
colors. Yeah.
yeah, that's something that's really really important to me, just because I would consider myself to be definitely an introvert. I'm not like loud. I'm not this like bright, poppy person just in general. So
Right.
the colors that I use, although they can be bright, there is a little bit of this like mutedness to them, which is intentional. Just because like like I'm not, you're not going to see me in like a lime neon green shirt, So it's like, why would I paint it? Just
Yeah,
don't
I
show,
feel you.
you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah, it's really just kind of intentionally creating these calm, unique, muted colors that
Mhm.
make me feel calm. So creating them, painting with them. I did an art show about a month ago, and that was like the biggest feedback that I got was, we love how calm your art makes us. The colors are so calming,
Right.
and that's like the ocean, the sunsets, the being in the breath, the fresh air you can just take, like
Yeah.
that's me at my core. That's what I need. So
Yeah.
it's hard not to convey that in my art.
Ah, I love that. Isn't it wild how we like subconsciously do things and
Yeah.
then we pick up on it later?
Yeah.
What other things have you discovered about yourself in terms of your art that you've done out of just letting your creativity and just you flow that you were like, oh, I didn't even realize it. It's kind of cool.
It's interesting. I think it's really just not being so rigid with proportions and perspective when it comes to uh, you know painting the human form. I I always felt like I had to paint the female body, for example, in a certain way.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like it's really just like I'm awkward, like I'm, I quirky in a sense. Like I feel like there's times when, you're sitting weird and you're just like in weird shapes. Like I like to kind of just embrace that. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
Just like
Yeah.
just the rawness of just being,
Mhm.
even just being in nature, like the way you like lay in the sand and just, curl up in your bed or sit on the couch in like these weird,
I love
abstract
that.
ways.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool playing that up a little bit too in my art, just kind of embracing the awkwardness of just being and sitting and just letting the vulnerability of how we are just in this human experience, embracing that in
Yeah.
the human form. So that's been a really cool um, part of the creative journey that I'm like, oh, I like this. Like it's kind of fun. So
Yeah. I love to hear your thought process. I love this. I love this so much. And I know that too. Hold on, let me fix this thing. Um, I know that too, it would be something that your community would want to hear too. Like they want to
yeah,
know the whys and the
yeah,
whys of like why
totally.
you do things. One of my favorite things to do is like just be un like to not be so neat. Like as much as I think, and what I discovered recently is I illustrate women in the state that I desire to be in.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
in peace, in knowing,
Hmm.
in my power, right? Because we can kind
Yep.
of, we get back to it, but
Right.
sometimes we get out of that. And another thing that I realized is mentally, and I like to control things.
Yeah.
Like I'm a bit of a
I
control
resonate with
freak.
all of this. Yeah.
Right. So with my work, I desire to allow myself to color outside the lines
Hmm.
or something be out of place or
Yeah.
the girl's hair to be all over her head and she's still like
Yeah.
vibing, like I'm
Right.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to just be bare,
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
asked me like, can you explain to us like why, your women are, naked? And I was like,
Mhm.
when you think about the roles and the expectations and all the things, right?
Yep.
And those are just layers and layers and
Yep.
layers. Like when you remove all those things, like how do you want to feel? Like I want to
Mm.
feel like this is at 100%, and
Yeah.
anything on top, like I'm the cake, and
Right.
everything else, these
Yep.
brows, these lashes,
Yes.
me being a mom, me being a wife and an artist, that's
Yep.
the icing on the cake.
Exactly.
And I think that
I love
we
that.
have to think about, ourselves that way, so that everything else will just fall into place. Like I want to
I love
be
that.
free
Yeah.
in all aspects of my life in that way, that I just want to be unbothered.
I I love
Unbothered
that.
and floating through life. Um,
I love that. That
girl,
genuinely speaks. Ooh, that I love that.
girl.
Wow. Wow.
And sometimes I just kind of, and that's the beauty of allowing yourself to just create from a genuine,
Yeah.
authentic space,
Yes.
that over time you discover these things about your work that you never like thought about. You just do out
Yeah.
of being, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that's deep, man.
And no
You
one
know
can
what I'm
write
saying?
that story but you. Like no
Right,
one can write that. And
right.
hearing that explanation is just validating in terms of being aligned with who you are and what you create. It
Yeah,
is like it is just right there. It is just an extension of you. And
right.
it's beautiful. It's just genuinely beautiful to hear that.
Thank
Like,
you. I love that about your story, about the just letting yourself be quirky. Is that something that was challenging for you growing up? Did someone like, oh, why do you do that? You should do this. Like, is that something that for you, you're just like, no, like this is what I like. This is how I
mhm,
like for my body to move, and I like freedom
mhm,
in that. So this is what you're gonna get. And in my paintings.
right. Kinda, like, I feel like I've always been, like, really creative and artistic, like, during lunch in high school, like, I was always, like, painting, like, I would always, like, take that time to just, like, always paint and just, like, do my own thing,
Hmm.
and there's phases where I was, like, making my own clothes and just being really creative in, like, different ways.
Hmm.
And I always like thought outside the box. I've always just been original just in terms of like fashion and just who I am and just, how I do different things and I think that all of that encompasses just me as a creative, as an introvert, just as someone who's like learning about themselves on a daily basis and growing. Um so it's kind of just like embracing who I've been my whole life and
Right.
probably the kind of person that I was maybe embarrassed to be at one point. Like,
Mm.
just, when you grow up, as a teen, just, the peer pressure of life at those
Right.
stages and stuff. It's
Yeah.
just, and I think it's just
Absolutely.
about embracing your weirdness and
Mhm,
awkwardness and
mhm.
just the way you do things, like the way your own process. So it really comes back to just embracing your originality, to be honest.
Yeah, your true makeup, just who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that. This is such great conversation.
I
Um, so it's been 55 minutes.
Oh gosh,
And I will hold
I knew we'd
you.
go on forever. I know.
I know we could, and we actually just need to connect and link up outside
Yeah.
of this, because
Yeah.
this is such fruitful conversation, and so
Yeah.
like it's just it's so fueling, right?
It
Like
is.
when you leave a
I feel
conversation.
like all tingly inside right now. I'm just like I feel so like I can go about my day. I feel so much
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
Just like it's crucial. This is
yeah,
what we need. So
yeah. This
thank you
is what
for
we
this.
need.
We needed this.
I know, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and agreeing
Of
to do
course.
this. And
Of
for
course.
this to be our first encounter, I feel like we've done this a
Oh,
thousand times before now.
oh, 1,000 times.
We're gonna
This
do it a thousand times after.
I love it.
Okay.
Deal.
Okay. Lastly, how can my listeners find you, and where do you hang out the most, to give us all the tea?
Yes. Well, um, so my website is CortneyHerron.com. So CortneyHerron.com. That's where I sell all of my originals. There's links to, all the everything else that I sell and do there. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then Instagram it's at Cortney Herron. So same thing. So Cortney with no U. Um, and yeah, that's where I usually am. To be honest, it's as a creative, like you have the bandwidth for certain things, and Instagram is kind of
Right.
where I put most of my energy and creative self on social media because it's a lot.
I feel
It's
it.
it's a lot.
Listen,
It's a lot, and so that's really all I have the bandwidth for these days.
social
I know
media
you
to
get it.
talk as an artist needs to be a whole episode on its own.
That's a whole chapter of a whole series right there.
Yeah,
Right.
right. That's a
Oh my
book,
gosh.
okay?
Yeah, it is. Someone needs to write that because
Exactly.
yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
what I'm
thank you again for being a part of this conversation. I am excited for more like
saying.
virtual meetups. We need to
Yes,
have wine or coffee, whatever
yes,
you're into.
yes,
Like, just let me know.
yes,
We need to connect again.
yes,
But
please.
thank you so, so much again. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that today's discussion sparked your creativity and inspired you to embrace your unique journey. Don't forget to share your thoughts, stories, and creations with me. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Leave a review, and let's continue to support and inspire one another on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep creating.